Okay, here's a quick demonstration of how to use Reaper to send control change messages to effects within a pod hd500, or in my case a Boss GT8. It doesn't matter, it's the same principle. A few things to check first. You need to make sure you know which Midi channel your pod or effects device is set to receive Midi messages on. Normally they're set up to 15 or 16, usually 16, but find that from your system settings in the pod, and also obviously make sure that within the patch that you're working on, you've got set up the effects block you want to turn on or off, programmed to respond to one of your foot switches. So in this case, foot switch 1 would turn on or off an overdrive function. Okay, we've got those basics set up. Quick check that your MIDI is set up correctly. If you go to options and preferences, you should see on the left hand side this MIDI devices tab here, and in the right hand side you'll see the devices you have set up. So when you've installed your sound card or your MIDI, USB to MIDI cable, whatever drivers you've got it set up, you should find it, Reaper should find it and list it here. You just need to make sure that for input it's enabled for input and control messages. We don't use that today, but if you are connecting to instruments, it's useful to have both of those enabled. And what we'll need today is the output, so you need to make sure that the output is enabled. I'm using my FA101 here. I've got a few other MIDI ports that I use for other devices, but just need to make sure that the one that you're going to plug your hd500 into is enabled here. If it's not appearing on that list or it won't enable, then we've got a problem. Okay, so this is my basic sort of guitar tone set up in Reaper, just for demonstration purposes. So what we need to do first is add a new track. We'll just call that track MIDI so we don't lose track of it later. Now if we were plugging in an instrument, we could set it up to receive an input from our MIDI device on all channels or just an individual channel, but we don't really need that today. What we do need to do is set up an output, because we're going to send messages from a Reaper track to the hd500. And you'll know from your mixer that in this region we can select effects, and in this region we can set up sends. So we need to find the first empty slot and just click on that. So here we could send the output of this track to any of the other tracks in Reaper to another hardware output, but what we're interested in is sending our data to a MIDI output. So in this dialog I'll set the output to go to the port which is plugged into my hd500 or Boss, which is that one in my case. You can set it to sort of only send individual channels if you want. I normally leave this set to send to all, to the original channels. It's not really crucial, and we're good to go. So the next thing to do is just find the region of our song or track that we're interested in, just highlight that and insert a new MIDI item, and there it is. And if we double click on that, we open up this window. I'll just close that bit down, use that later. And you get the piano roll, so if we were connected to an instrument we could send it note information or drum signals, but we're not interested in that, so I'll just get rid of that for the minute. What we're interested in is this bit down here, which is where we send MIDI messages other than notes. Now, first thing to get set, and always remember to do this because you'll spend hours wondering why it's not working if you don't do this bit right. In this channel box here, we need to change this to be the number, the channel that the device is set to receive on. So in my case the Boss is set to receive on 16, which is its default setting, and that's where you need to know what channel your hd500 is set to receive on. So select that. It's important to do that first, because if you don't do it now and you start writing to the wrong channel, you'll see note information or control change information and you'll wonder why it's not working. These other two boxes are useful, particularly this middle one. which we'll see later. This is going to tell us the value. This will confirm to us that we've sent the right value to channel 16, and this right hand of the three boxes here is telling us whereabouts in the song in time we are. So I'm at the end of bar 1, and you can see it incrementing there. So having got that set up, particularly this channel, down here is where all the business is going to happen, and you'll remember from Pupak's tutorial that this is where we selected a bank or program change. So we double clicked somewhere in here and we got a patch change dialog open up. There are a whole host of other things you can do in here, and the one we're interested in is control changes today. So we can send velocity information, pitch information associated with notes and what have you. And then we've got this whole long list of numbered options down here. These are the control changes. So in Midi implementation there are many sort of standards and conventions, which is why some of these have notes at the side of them or names at the side of them. It's not really important for our purposes. But they're conventionally used to change various things within a sound of an instrument. If you look in Appendix B of the Advanced User Guide, you see that Control Change 51 will affect foot switch 1 within the Pod hd500. Excuse me. So this is the one you'd need to select. 52 would control foot switch 2, 53 foot switch 3, etc, etc. But if you've got your effect that you're wanting to influence associated with foot switch 1, then this is where you choose Control Change 51, and we'll do all that stuff in here on 51. Now 50 through 60 on the Boss are reserved, so I can't use that one, so ignore this bit. I'm going to change it to 30, which is the control change that my Boss is set up to turn on or off my delay, my distortion. So you want 51 set here. Having done that, what we need to do now is send some values, and we do that in this grid down here, this control grid. I call it, I don't know what its official name is. So if I wanted, for instance, to turn on the delay, the distortion at the beginning of the second bar, and I just double click here and I get this nice green line. I just need to adjust its value, so if I click somewhere in it and hold and then drag it up and down, you can see the value going up and down, and in that middle box you can see on the top right of this window the number going up, 115, 116, 117, 118. I need to drag that all the way up to 127. Now it's important to be precise here. The Pod hd500, if you send it 126, I don't think it will respond, so you need to make sure it's at 127. You do that by clicking and holding and dragging it up past the top of this grey bar here. So that's going to turn my overdrive on at the beginning of bar 2. I'll turn it off again at the beginning of bar 4 by double clicking again, getting a green bar and just dragging that down, and I'll make sure it's at 0. If I send it 1, it won't turn off. So I can do that as many times as I like within that MIDI track, that MIDI item I set up earlier. So it was only going for 6 bars, so that's why it runs out after 6. So I'm going to turn it on and off a couple of times, just make sure that it gets to 127 or 0 each time. So these transport controls here now I can use just the same as the ones in the main window of Reaper, just to make sure it's working. And there we go. Job done. So I can close that window down now. I would see, you can see the little items represented here, so you can see roughly where they are in the track. If I wanted to fine tune those, I can just click on it and drag and just move it around just to make sure the effect comes at precisely the right moment. One last quick trick, obviously you can do all of this with your feet, so turning a delay or an overdrive or any single effect on and off is not that impressive, but if we wanted to have several things happening at once, then you can do that quite easily. If you just click on that little plus there, you get another one of these control grids up. It's set here now to control change 31. If you changed that to 52, you've now got 2 things happening at once. You can have your second foot switch affecting some other effect or other. Interestingly, and this is yet to be proven, I think, in the manual it says that control change 00 will affect your expression pedal. So if you've got your expression pedal set to adjust, for example, the mix of a delay or a distortion effect, then you could send control change messages to channel 0. If I click and hold my left button, I can create all kinds of weird and wonderful fancy shapes. So you get nice, smooth effects coming in and out. As I said, that's yet to be proved, but I'm fairly sure that should work. Okay, and we're good to go. Job done. How do I turn this off?